I think I'm gonna try to go live here on a Sunday night, about 8 o'clock. In a perfect world, if I was out of church or we were out of church, on a nice sun-filled, warm spiritual environment, our drum circle vibe would be. But as things would have it, I guess what I'm here with is WNDC, which stands for We in the Crib and You Ain't. And I just want to take advantage of the first time that I've been allowed to go live on Instagram and I guess maybe even the Facebook due to them punishing me for for sharing something on my feed that I got from several people who were sharing it on Instagram and Facebook. I did it. They came at me. I still was seeing it as I was on punishment. Still to this day, I can look it up. There it is right there. And yet, I look back at the history of some of the things that I've been put on the punishment for in these formats. While kind of just day to day expressing myself to my friends and followers, whom all know how we do what we say and how we are, and we don't take offense to anything to a certain degree, and in most cases, these formats are not set up for ethnic communication. Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. And yet, bad can be bad enough that, even LA Cool J had to get out of that I'm bad kind of vibe to get where he's at right now. So, yeah. What's up, Mo Better? How y'all doing? I could bring y'all in. I'm just chilling in the crib. Being I'm in the crib, I'm hitting a little bit of my meds and trying to lick my wounds from that damn weekend fiasco. Stadium gig that was, I got a nice little chunk out of it. There's nothing like trying to explain to people how there are days that you go to work and you don't know what time you're going to be off. You go in there at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Might not leave there until the next morning, which is another one of those things. But from a union scale, while they would say anything else about blah, 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 you sit back there going, but the check that's coming from it is fair enough for the punishment that we go through. We got to do this. Everybody in the service industry has their own little retrospect, especially if you're structured in a union or something. Or format, fair pay. And in the service industry where sometimes consequences, the phrase is OBE, which is overcome by events. I used to explain it to people when I used to talk about how I've got memories of like most of the catastrophic things that most other people will kind of recall in some kind of way. In the life that I've lived, I've found myself seeing it in a different kind of manner. Like, for me, every time I go to work, the only thing that stops us from getting paid is a work stoppage. Most work stoppages could be for rather safety, or something catastrophic like 9/11, like a tornado or storm or things of that nature. And so for that reason, unlike many other people, I have a different kind of perspective on how I get it and where's that to be gotten. Most people are looking for people who have a certain corporate structured kind of thing because, no offense to them, but they're built to be fruitful, multiply, party and bullshit, grow up and be, active in the community, and I mean, that's something that we have to understand and, is needed because, if we keep our money cyclic between the environments into which is most important to us, then maybe, just maybe, there won't be as much of an issue about having it as it is about making sure that more people around you also have it too. And, that's not no easy kind of anything. Hey now, backstage. If you could hear me or anything else of that nature on Instagram, will you please, say hey or something like that? I have no idea. I'll be sitting there going, is this thing on? Is this thing on? Yeah. But I'm also on YouTube Live right now. So if any of you right now have access to YouTube Live, why don't you slide on over and see if you can leave at least a comment or a like or share or whatnot so that I can see how this thing is working for me and whatnot. I appreciate you. Yeah, so this is a rare kind of day for me, when you have to sit back and, consider the mere fact that, you have to consider the mere fact that, we get to a point where we really believe or feel that we need to stay active and get this money, chase the money, don't let the money chase you, and yet there are other times when, I realize that the level of moderation varies from people to people. For some people, they need to get out there and earn, over six figures. More money, more problems. Once you want to be a high-valued person, sometimes your industry will not even allow you to be low-value. And that makes it very much more difficult when, you consider dealing with people that seem to be on the lower value of social life or whatnot. Yeah, I'm getting this new car, this, that, the other, and I'm sitting back there going, yeah, I gave up my car in the mid-20s, or the mid-18s, and, but I've been living in the same zip code for almost 20 years, and so I got a license, and I can drive, but, everything I need to get to or whatnot is so close to me that I can rather Lyft, Uber, catch a bus, or walk, and so, for me being in my older age now, I don't have, many people that are looking over me going, you should be, breaking your neck to earn a bigger living for you and yours and blah, 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 blah. And luckily I've been blessed enough to be able to admit that all the people in my life's journey that I have befriended and familied and whatever else have all, been very reasonable in the ability for us to associate in a manner where there's no deep deadbeat in me. But don't let that be the reason. Just realize it's the end of the month, and there's a couple of 2-3 things that I'm gonna leave as gems, and maybe somebody that belongs to this subject will pick up on it, maybe not. But my baby mama's birthday is today, and she's 60 something, and my mom keeps telling me I'm 61, but my records say I'm 59. So we joke about the eldership of that, but interesting kind of dynamic that all became, because it was at an interesting point in my life where where you're like you're looking for some kind of value, someone to love, and someone to love you for you, the heart and soul, and yet you were so young that really honestly, youth is really wasted on the youth, and unfortunately, it's not a bad thing if you really honestly just accept it for it's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Things will never change in the way that humans evolve in their lifetime. It could be really, really long, or it could really be busy, or it could be really short. And the only thing that's constant in this whole Homo sapien existence is, that somehow the creator, or whatever you want to use, is your reason for existing, all made us biodegradable. And one of the only difficult things that we're having is in this toxic world, we're breeding toxic people because we're not able to regenerate our genetics that we would pass on from our ancestry, because it's too toxic for you to put somebody in a pine box and throw them in the dirt and put some flowers and and grow some groceries on top of it, and maybe one day you can be sitting down eating some good collard greens and going, Grandma tastes good. We way past that. That's cannibalism now. And we got multifaceted people who believe that we're so close together, while many of them are not really capable of understanding this cultural twist in the way that our societies and our family structures have brought us to where we are now. Is very, very complicated and very difficult to administer a form of empathy enough to be able to understand, and that's the way they're wired, like dating a chick who's actually in a Kennedy family. I mean, John and Robert and all of that, or in a Jane Kennedy. I'm sorry, she's still a fine ass woman. Oh my God. But goddamn Leon Isaac Kennedy was really honestly what it was. He was just too sweet. Nowadays, we like them too sweet people. That's the thing that we do. We really love them too sweet people. Oh, too sweet. And a lot of us older kind of, Tarzan, Teddy Pendergrass-ish types, are having a real thing, because, we ain't Barry White, and yet, we're not just on genders anymore. We're now in this world that's including things like that includes things like I'm multitasking and I'm sucking at it right now. But we're at this point now where things are different. We're genetically different. For the first time on this earth, there's an actual recording of more genetically oh, that's good. Genetic distinct people, and not that they don't mesh, but people think that you have to pick a side, but a lot of times we, just like in your vows, you want to love and cherish each other, want to be loved and cherished no matter what, through richness and all hell no, I ain't trying to be that poor, to I can do bad by myself, but I'd rather do better with you, to partnership beyond personal emotional structure and whatnot. It's better to do a better deal with the devil than a shadier deal. People say, oh no, but this is joy and pain, sunshine and rain, and we want to play with those things because it's Sunday, but we all have to, stop and sit back and focus on what we really know. And what we really know is that the daytime and the nighttime has always existed and kept us alive in our communities until the nighttime and the daytime got a little skewed. And the next thing you know, crack killed Applejack. And it was all back on, oh, hell no. And yet, the most interesting thing about this whole situation is that exposing a mass amount of unidentified Homo sapiens of sorts now creates a certain kind of coinky-dink in the food chain of sorts. Just due to the mere fact that, just due to the mere fact that, just due to the mere fact that we have this this kind of timidness about social intimacy. We get conditioned to and to being able to gravitate to like minds and this, that, and the other. That we find ourselves in situations now where you meet new and interesting people that actually cause a certain kind of conflict in your social situation that they actually would have more of a pressure in you having to decide, kind of like you are in these orders and realms and frats and whatnot, and all of a sudden you find somebody that saline is good. You find somebody that defies the logic that you've grown and lived by in your protocols of how you've been. Kind of like good times when the girl wanted to go to the debutante ball with JJ, but the only thing was wrong was that nobody could understand that there was an order that was set to be not just the haves or have-nots, but it was never intentional to cause the amount of conflict we have today. Back when it was initially instigated, it was done so that it can identify and allow upper metaphysical genetics and people of color the ability to be able to exist in the closest to the social realm and etiquette that exists around the rest of the formal world of haves, not just in your neighborhood. So it's hard to really explain to people who are not capable of being able to see things from not just Mr. Charlie has always got his foot on her head, but to realize, if you've been around the rest of the world, you'd find that there's fewer Mr. Charlies, but more people who actually would find your identification of them, Mr. Charlie, humorous enough that the next time that they do business with them, they might look at them and say, oh, you're one of those Mr. Charlies. And, that kind of instinct grows on people, like we are growing on each other whether we like it or not. And yet, we can't find a happy medium because we have too many of these social, ethnic, and moral kind of hard lines that we're not allowed to cross. Like p-value, you can't have sex with the same sex, even if the same sex has certain polarities that would allow them to qualify as transgender. Only until a couple of months ago have we been legally held to the responsibility that even if that would occur, you are not allowed to openly, outwardly state or spew that any kind of negative manner, no matter how many people would amen you or not, without the possibility of getting hate crime. And that's real talk. right now, and yet I think for a lot of my friends and whatnot, they're lucky they get a chance to have so many things in their life that they don't have to stop and get that deep about the rest of the world around them. I mean, okay, I know we got problems, but hey, do this right here. Take yourself out of yourself. Now take yourself up where you can see yourself being there as yourself, but you're out of yourself. Now go up to the roof of where you're at. And now look back down at yourself. You see that yourself is still there, just chilling out, so it's all good. Now, let's go outside of the universe. All right, now let's look back. You can still see all the way down to this little blue marble, to this little area, down through the roof, and right there where you're sitting at as you're just chilling. But the you has gone and traveled just to look back and see. Now, let's go more universes from there. Just let's keep going. But we can still stop back and turn around and look and see all the way down to our galaxy, our universe, our planet, and our little location with our roof, and right down to where we're at right now, looking at each other, knowing that we're also somewhere else. This dirt and water is only a rental. And somehow, in some way, from a spiritual standpoint, the more that you are understandably able to understand the perils of life without being destroyed, the more challenge it becomes for you to understand, okay, so as you age, what do you want to do? You want to just be older? You want to be elderly? You want to be elderly, or you want to be wise? You want to be wise, or you want to be immortal? Now, you have this time to do that as you're young, but the youth is wasted on the youth. That's the way it is. And that's the human instinct. A lot of the things that we are stuck with, unfortunately, when they say you're bipolar, it's not a bad thing. It's just that you have triggers that are genetically stuck into you. Just as simple as when somebody says something to you and you freak out. Oh, freak out. And they're like, hey, what I say, what I do? And then they're like, look, just don't do that no more. Do what? I don't know, whatever it is you did. And now there's not enough therapists that could go, ooh, see right there? Ooh, I see what you're doing. Girl, I can help you with that. Boy, I can help you with that. Well, how? Well, every time you get that ting, do this. The best they got is take this pill. If you feel like it's going to be one of them days where, the possibility of you blowing up the world might occur if somebody turned you the wrong way, then take this. Now, we still play around with the crystals and the belief and prayer and all this other stuff every now and then, but, the devil's busy and, and yet, for people of color, especially Americanized people of color from where I'm speaking of, we have the most interesting conundrum, because for every person who feels very violently upset and appalled at how Mr. Charlie and all the people who put you, or you believe in that the history that you can confirm and not deny that you didn't just want to come over here and be treated like this, but today's a whole new day. I mean, you can't even sing when the moon is in the seventh house. This is the dawning of the age, and then take off your clothes and then dance like you're, like 1999. But the reality is, just like the generations before you, many people are not capable of being able to role play and just feel the vibe and go back to when they were younger, back when they were this, that, and the other, back when they felt this, that, and the other. Hey, but how y'all doing over there? Hey, if anybody over there hears me, at least give me a like or share or something like that, man. Y'all quit playing, man. This is free. Anywho, so in a lot of cases, you see yourself sitting here on the end of July. There are no more other, holidays of any sort that we can honestly bask in. And yet, this is that time and era where most people who are set into more of a corporate thing, could possibly start thinking about, you might want to, take this break before it gets to, the busy season again. And then it slows back down. But surely I digress. Now, somehow, some way, I be sitting back just thinking how we be sinking into these states of depression just because we can't be confessing some of the things that confuse us the most, because we are the host of a genetics that doesn't really fit our moral reality. And for a lot of us as people of color, it's been more difficult because not that it's never existed, but because we've been very steadfast at not allowing anyone else to call whoever we got anything else, even if it's true. And so we would don't ask, don't tell, and we so far past that right now. And yet we can't give it up because it's too easy to run with. It's too easy to explain why you lost your whole entire fucking mind just because somebody, we can't say we were kings and queens or strong enough to be this, that, and the other if we're not really ready to be that at the exact moment that somebody says, really? We'll prove it. Not just, well, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna go back and get my suit. Not, I'm gonna go get, some people and a plan. Yeah. No. Where I'm at is really honestly, more of a state of, this is a personal thing though, because this is like, having the most intense dream, where all of a sudden, just like the rapture, many of us who really truly believe that we're those children of, the all high and mighties and whatnot, may wake up, that gene might go poof, and we wake up and we have no choice. And I usually explain it as simple as maybe Key and Peele could possibly do, kind of like a spiritual watermelon man, where, all of a sudden they find out that there's this Jesus gene now. They've been chasing this since Raiders of the Ark and the Egyptians, everybody's been, the Mayans, and yet at a certain point in time they realized that they couldn't find enough people that maybe possibly could be, so they can bring them into an order and keep them over there so they keep their eye on them. Now it's everybody. And so we get to this point where in the turn of this century comes a little consequences and repercussions. The first one is the end of all things. That doesn't mean it happens right now, but that does mean that everything from right now on will be something that at some point in time in the future, everything else that you thought was supposed to be relevant won't even be, existent. Just like we were in the age of Pisces, now we're in the age of Aquarius, and yet we're also in an age where even our time and our math has changed. We got 13 zodiacs. Not we as the people who've always grown up with 12, but all the other people that are genetically coming from, our dirt and water, that are now finding themselves realizing that, there's something else for them, but every direction that they feel like they can see about that all requires them to not necessarily be about what everybody else around them wants them to be about, so that they can stay over here and not go out there and, leave them, and that is something that's in this prescription of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And so many people have it that if we could actually just make it the same identification of what the Jews had for the Holocaust, then we could just include everybody and get this over with and stop playing like it just should be us. There's not enough money for anybody else. There's only enough kindness and happiness and this, that, and other for us to, defend our own. And we've got to, keep up this blood-stained banner. We got to keep it up until we die. And yet, we're genetically enigmas on his dirt. I mean, more animals find their existences more valuable in the manner to which they come and go. And yet they keep creating more of the same with a more mutated genetic existence of aspiring to do the same. That's the reason why we would, say, be a credit to your race and your people. Now, we the people are stuck in this understanding. More people want to be more like us than we want to be like anybody else, or allow anybody else to, let us brown themselves up. Give them some of what we got. Let their funk be the P-funk. And they can get the P-funk uncut. Without having to go into a long dissertation when they're everywhere else around the world, proud to be something different than everybody that they came from. And that's something serious, but how do you tell that to somebody when they're feeling down in the dumps about just the mere fact that their life is just like everybody else's life right now, struggling, and yet it sucks just a little bit more because they're people of color. Not just people of color, but people of color that are also in a more cultural, social kind of aspect that conflicts with the amount of available people they would desire of having access to, just due to the mere fact that that high value thing is not something that everybody can handle, but it's not something that everybody can afford or even want. More problems, until you have so much money, you try to get rid of it. It don't matter how much you think you can have, you're still going to have more problems with it because that's just the way it is. You make six figures, after a while, you got to have kids or buy a boat. Just for tax reasons, you got to have a company. You just can't have it sitting around there on the couch. You got to do something with it. You got to move these refrigerators and these color TVs. And, you got employees with mouths to feed. And a lot of times we desire this kind of evolution out of greed. Yeah, I want to be the baddest bitch. I want to take doggone money with the rich. I want to blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And yet, too many of us are wasting way too much time playing with the other after effects of the brilliant energy and whatnot that's possibly coming out of us. That is so much more different. That for many of us, we can't even fathom the possibility that we have ancestors that are always watching over us, or angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Or somebody, I got that feeling. Somebody's watching me. But we all got 5G. And yet, man, what I just really wanted to do is just try to find a way of doing what I've done so many Sundays. The one day we had the shine, and yet I haven't been able to find the time to actually do it in a manner into which it used to exist before. It got a little bit too ooh-ah, and everybody else wanted ooh-ah too, and I can't argue with all of that. And so now church has become a free-for-all, because anything less than that can get you a hate crime charge just for saying, no, they can't. Just not today. They're going, but when? If not now. Let little Johnny bang his bands. And for a lot of us, point blank period people, we can't understand that that's going to be the future of, hey. Now, for you nerds or something, sometimes I see it like the scene of, the space people when they go to the galactic bars. And unlike everywhere else that they're going and traveling through all of the other planets and whatnot, they go to these little bars, and these bars all have the same existence of whatever the hell you probably would think you got no business getting into. It's there. And yet, the biggest problem we've had is something that we've had for the past couple of generations. You give too many people too much air and opportunity to do whatever the fuck they want, and no aspiration to want to do something. because they don't even think that they can do it, and they're already doing most of it already, to the point that if they could only believe that there's absolutely nothing, if it's made for you, then there's nothing that can stop you from having it. But what you may get, it may not be initially something that you believe should be about you. You know, you don't want to leave a stamp. You just want to stop getting trampled on by everybody. No good deed goes unpunished. After a while, you know, being a glutton for punishment is spiritually not fun. You know, that turning the other cheek shit get real old real quick when it's off the skin of your back. And yet, a lot of us can't let that go. You know, sometimes the best partner is your worst enemy. But you all share the same drive for something, a goal. That's the reason why all of those illuminated structures that everybody's pissed off about exist. They don't like each other. They respect the mere fact that they create the image of value as a reason for you to aspire to believe that you are being withheld. And there's nothing stopping you. These people ain't got collar bars where you walk too far down the street and all of a sudden, bring your ass back here. None of that exists still. Got 5G, they're giving you more of the ability to roam, go, spread the gospel, teach others how to be free, make brown babies, teach the world to sing or to twerk. You know? Yeah. This is WNDC, which stands for We in the Crib and You Ain't. But it's NDC because I'm in DC, literally. And living in the historic Detroit Park has given me more times like these where I feel it's almost a cultural obligation for me to at least leave some digital zeros and ones of some form of positivity for people of color more than anything else, and more of a understanding that, you know, you rather get in or you don't get anything as this keeps going, because we're still evolving and we don't know how many options we have, but we know that the more that our children and our children's children and our children's children have found people totally out of our genetic base, none of them have been noted to be caustic. And so we need to get up off of that thing and stop with the not my daughter, not my son, you know, and realize that even if you can't multiply, you can adopt. And it still takes a village. And we still trying to have communities. And we need to doggone stop acting like politics is somebody else running it, when everybody has the ability to cut that shit out from the local level up. And yet, that seems like too much work, and yet, you know, a lot of us out there can probably pull it off, but just really don't want to. I want to say something, but even when it falls on your door, it takes a piece of yours too. Still not enough. Still not enough to be, you know, yeah, one of them people out there that we put on t-shirts. Still, where, you know, you don't want to have that business card. You walk up to people and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, grieving, so-and-so. We don't want that, you know? And yet, that dream is so far past this that I really honestly believe that if Coretta and Martin were younger, you know, a lot of where we're at right now could have possibly been a whole lot more accessible. And yet, in order for that to happen, we would have to clone them and put them back out again into this new land of what we got. And I don't think y'all ready for that either. And yet, you know, it's not sexuality, it's polarity. And polarity is such a big, vast kind of situation that people can't understand that no matter how spiritual you think you're possibly capable of being, it's only at its most intense state when it's an extreme pleasure or extreme pain. And unfortunately for most of us, we're not capable of being able to harness either one of that kind of level of intensity and focus it, even if we wanted to play with our chakras or think that we can get a little machine or, or fake the funk. Is not going to happen. And right now, the more people who are looking into the old books thinking that they can utilize a way of doing that are really more screwed, because not only is this the end of all things, but we don't even have the same cycle in math. I mean, our days are still uncalculated until at least 2030, 2033. Just by the theory of these orders that held tight for the last 26,000 years. This is like, the fifth element is that time. All this time from the Egyptians now. Oh my, really? Is it that time? Oh wow, let's look at the manual. What are we gonna do, Pinky? Same thing we do all the time. But people are still kind of stuck on this. I don't want to feel any form of need to be more passionate about being more simplematic. And I mean that in a Don King School of English kind of manner, where simplematic would be more so of sympathetic, but in a manner where, not that I'm allowing you to blame me directly for anything, but yes, I harbor no, unless I can say I come from Margaret Mitchell or one of these other well-renowned advocates for black humanity, then automatically just let it go and say, you know what, you're right. And there's some shit in my genes that really honestly come about me at times when I'm stuck in the process of dealing with you, and the only thing that can keep me from preventing you from changing whom I believe myself to be is the race card. Not that I'll use it, but it instantly comes, oh man, I think it was a black guy. Didn't know if he was Iranian or Iraq, Iran. Apuno tabale, chabale, 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 chabale. Now they ain't ready. And being not ready is okay, in theory. And yet, too many of us forget that we play too damn much. Ooh, we work. Like the last poets. We party and bullshit and party and bullshit, even in the Lord's name. And yet our most controversial spiritual leaders or whatnot actually mutter up the whole system that, basically speaking, they have more of the power to go, look, honey, enough of that shit. All right? We about to put Presbyterian back on the map. We about to put Zionists back on the map. We about to put this, that, and the other. We about to put Daddy Grace back on the map. And yes, we're going to take care of every calico kid somebody accidentally had because they, needed a little money. And somebody decided to leave a little bit of their genetics in them before they went back around the rest of the world, knowing that it's not going to follow them home. That's what we are as Americans. Many of us are created in that same kind of insignificant manner. And until we can really honestly accept that as a badge of glory, then we're not going to be able to get over this hump enough to be able to explain to some people genetically can't pull it off. Your girlfriend call you, she finally got a little check, don't want nobody to know about it, so they call you because you can keep a secret. Girl, I got this check. Will you please take me down to cash checking place? Because I need this cash right now, baby. I'll give you some if you take me down there. So you get up, you go on down there, you pick her up. Ooh, girl, thanks. Yeah, I understand, girl. You really need that cash, girl. What do you mean? Well, when you called me, you didn't even notice. You said cash checking. You said cash like 5 times. Girl, what, you think I'm crazy? Now, we've got a conflict. Here comes Rod Sterling. Picture, if you will, two friends that all of a sudden become in conflict with each other just due to the casual occurrence of them noticing or pointing out, hey, I witnessed this and this is what you said and this, that, and the other. This is what I call the booger in your nose, toilet paper out the back of your pants theory, and yet people get so tired of you picking on them and this, that, and the other. You try to, what is that? What's my man's name? The sky is falling, dude. Or was it a duck? Okay. All right. It's getting late, but it ain't that late. It's not even 8, but it's close to 8. So, I'm trying to stay focused on it. It actually dropped from where it was 50 something back to 30 something. So we here for a minute. I wish that somebody would at least leave some kind of comment. Say, hey, if there's anything in here that entertains, informs, instructs, or anything, just slide me a couple over. Not that I'm hurting, but nothing says thank you like cash. Cash App in the bottom. Never thought that I would be this old and yet be this valid when there's so many people younger that are in and out, so much more, that it's harder to find people that you can believe you can pass on where you're at and what you do, because they and that's where we're at. We have to understand we got to be broader about this, and sometimes we have to be more open to actually be in value of something that changes everything that you do, everything that you got. That's the problem that people have with wanting relationships. They want it so close to just being like a pet, like bringing a new pet in the house. They don't want it to totally abruptly, interrupt their whole everything, for the sake of fairness. And then also force them to actually put an equal amount of indulgence on both people's dynamic to make a new dynamic. And then be ready to handle what this new dynamic is probably going to end up being. And doing the best diligence to be able to provide, all of the tools needed in order for that one to go on and make your race proud. They can turn back and they can tell their siblings about their great. Why do we call our ancestors great when many people are not capable of being able to state how great they are? And yet we play with these sermons. We play with this spirituality, but we never have church. And so I'm really going to excuse this whole thing that I'm doing right here is today I had church. It wasn't a church that anybody else thought about. But if you happen to find this, I don't mind if you like, share, and subscribe. Donate if you got it. But I'm going to probably review it and try to improve and provide more of this brand that I am as I expose myself and whatnot to Front Street. Not trying to brag or boast. I do like butter on my breakfast toast. But if I don't get this out of my head sometimes, more people that I'm around are going to be more uncomfortable about hearing these bits and pieces of something that they dealing with their own shit, and they be like, do you ever shut up? Now, anybody that knows me lately will probably enjoy that phrase or statement. So if you do that, you can like whatnot. But that's a real true story. I miss fellowship. I miss the kind of fellowship that we all got goosebumps at the same time. I miss sex. I miss sex where we both got goosebumps at the same time. I miss friendship when we both had friendship at the same time. It was like goosebumps. I like partnerships. Partnerships where we all had goosebumps the same kind of way. And I think if you can't just play with one kind of way or not. You just gotta get better at training those that are capable around you and accepting those who ain't about that life, even though they don't want you to leave. They just ain't about that life, and you're going, yeah, but sooner or later, like, something else, you're gonna just grow off, or I'm just gonna get another limb. But don't let that be the reason, and this Age of Aquarius thing is not something to play with when we're day to day finding that just when we want a day that we can chill out and not necessarily worry about. Ain't nobody worrying. Ain't no smiling faces. Flying to the races. Don't matter. We try to. And yet, even in the process of us getting out here trying to get this, the worst thing is we're cheating ourselves in the specialty of service that we offer and the value of others that exist in the same realm. And sometimes if we used more of the instinct of killing them with kindness, we get rid of a whole lot more of them faster. You know what I'm saying? And yet, that's what our spirituality was supposed to be talking and telling us, but we got grown as sanctified alternative sexual practitioners of faith ready to get downright primal, and what anyone else sees as gossip, I see as foreplay. And I don't want that to be a slander to anybody, but I find that quite comical. I mean, I watched the video just for entertainment's sake. Ooh-wee. And I think that's where we're at. I mean, people, we waiting on Jesus. If Jesus showed up and you knew where he stayed and you went and knocked on the door and he opened the door and you knew right then, right there, and he says, come in, my child. I've been waiting for you. What would you do if right from that instance of having looked up, then you look down and realize all he's wearing is sandals? You ready? Because if you ain't ready, then something's wrong. And what's wrong is exactly where I just left you. And even that most spiritual sermon. Everything else is like a drug. And we've grown too free to indulge into things that deaden our senses as we're in a state where the moon and the stars and whatnot are revolving in an awkward kind of way that could possibly create the same kind of accomplishments as Jesus was trying to preach back in that day. Hey, it ain't just me, it's just that other. The reason why it didn't work for so many other people is because nobody else could handle being a virgin. How do you overcome the romantic, the sexual, the intimate, the totally out where it never gets you, even when you're in the Matrix and the girl with the red dress pops up and then, so how do you? The only way that you can is, the only thing you can is, is the only way you can is go for it. You have to la your way out of it. You have to let it pass, but still stay on you. And that's not something that you can really do because, well, who wakes up every day, walks into the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and the image they see is them, only they're Jesus. What would Jesus do, they say? What if you woke up and more of us just woke up finding out that we were those distinct people? Only problem is that for many of us, there's more of the chance that when they went to sleep You know, knowing that when they wake up, they're going to be Mr. and Mrs. Motherfucker. And it's about to be on like hot butter popcorn. And then poof. All of a sudden, that Jesus stuff just kicks in on the wrong freaking day. Hey, I'm going to wait. I'm still going to have to whoop their ass today. I'm just going to have to do... Oh, shit. Out of all days, here I am trying to get ready to do some covert shit, and here I am shining. Yeah. You know, we're not ready to understand that that's what this bipolarism is, because we're on a planet that's so bipolar right now that all the other planets are doing shit too. And we got so much other shit to be into that we're not even noticing how many of these other things are happening that's also affecting our days, our nights, our weeks, our emotions, our needs, our wants, our karma. And yet a lot of people are trying to figure out, what did I do? What did I say? And other people are like, damn, what did they do? What did they say? We really need to I don't know. What do you think? It's 7:44, and I supposed to been out the door at 8, but I don't know why I even said that. I really do wish that somebody would like, share, and subscribe, because, I mean, you know, it's free. It's church. This is what this is today. This is church for me. I'm just trying to get whatever's on me off of me and put it out there somewhere where somebody, don't take a one, might go aha for a moment. And not that I'm asking those ha-has, but even if the possibility don't even sound logical, for entertainment purposes, you can slide something over there instead of giving it to a bum that needs a beer. Appreciate you. Now, I think for me, what I face more than anything else is the mere fact that this is some new kind of black exploitation shit that I'm in life. And many people have been like, man, you know, if you could tell it the way you saying it, you know, you should be writing a book. That would be really nice. It could be even a movie, you know. And yet, part of the aspirations is just due to the inability of being able to, where does it go? All right, so what's the, you know, people all have these books. Tara McMillan was a girl, and I'm screwed up. I became a strong, independent, screwed up chick. And, you know, you can't heal someone when they can't answer who heals the healer. You know, and yet it's hot potato. You know, people want energy exchange, but they're not really interested in actually being able to try to, you know, work with somebody to work with them where they could, let's see if we can hot potato this up in here tonight. You down? Yeah, I'm down. You good? Yeah, I'm good. To the point where they know that by the time that they've done what they could done, they ain't got to ask each other. They already know. They be sitting around and going, shit, I know. We want that in our lives. We want everything in our lives, and yet it's just too many people who just want. They don't want to do the time. They don't want to do this and the other. They can't see themselves even possibly being a benefit to others because they got too many other people in that line. And I understand that, but sometimes we have to let those things stop being as valid because we like this repetition. We like this rhythm, this pattern. It ain't great, but it's good. You know? Mostly because the more that I look at this country, the more that I realize we the only thing keeping this country poor. And they can't give us enough to change that. Because it ain't about them, and yet, where do you start? What kind of movement does that make? You know? We love to hate revolution. You know? Man, last poets, man, growing up at a time where these people were in your dinner table talking this that is so today. Automatic push button, remote control, genetic, phonetic, will land your soul. Oh my God, it's right here. And when it comes time for the end, the men will act like the women, and the women will act like the men, and we will dance in a hypnotic trance. And it's okay today. And yet, days like these are days that I only hope that I could do what I'm doing right now. Most times when I do this on a larger scale in an outside environment that people would like to follow as it happened, but it's grown to a point where hopefully this will do for now. You good?